I wasn't tired, but as soon as I finished the last page of John's Gospel, my eyes closed. Without warning, I fell into a deep sleep. But this slumber was different from any sleep I'd ever experienced. My mind was tumbling, free-falling, like the waterfall nearby. An overwhelming peace filled me, and I felt everything was right with the world. When my mind stopped tumbling, I opened my eyes to the most fantastical countryside imaginable. Everything was vivid and radiant. All of my senses were finely tuned, like I had awakened in some enhanced version of reality. In front of me, a picturesque meadow was filled with vibrantly colored wildflowers. Pops of yellow, orange, red, blue, and indigo swayed with the breeze like living rainbows. The green was the luscious green I'd ever laid eyes on, and the hue so saturated it seemed like a new color to me. The splendor before me was stunning. I wanted to breathe in the view. As I did, I inhaled the most fragrant scent, so light and pleasing, like a mixture of citrus and lilac. I held my breath, allowing it to cleanse my insides and open my mind. I heard a trickling noise behind me and turned to see a running stream. Crystal clear blue water flowed over shiny rocks, lining the bed, and made a tranquil, babbling sound. I moved toward the stream, and I felt an icy but refreshing spray, almost like the feeling I got as a boy when I opened the freezer door on a hot Alabama day. The flowing water was a glassy sapphire blue, but surprisingly light and clear when I scooped it into my cupped hands. Everything felt so real, more intense and tangible than in my ordinary life. My senses seemed to awaken and open like a flower to the sun. I could see, hear, touch, smell, and feel things as never before. I didn't feel like I was in a dream. I felt like this was the real life I'd always been searching for. This was more real than my life. I spied a large rock nearby beyond the brook and perched on it to gaze at the magnificence displayed. Everything was so peaceful and serene, I marveled at it all. The closest I'd ever come to experiencing anything like this would have been during a warm day in Georgia when I was young and didn't have a care in the world. But even those rich childhood memories were dim imitations of the brilliant light that now burst from the scene before me. I didn't have time to think about how I'd gotten there because I heard an unmistakable voice calling me from the distance. It was the voice of someone whom I had once loved and who still loved me. It didn't make an audible sound. Instead, it resonated inside me and echoed outside as if I'd heard it with my heart or maybe my soul. And it was easily the most compelling yet comforting voice I'd ever heard. I spun to my right to glance at the person who had spoken to my heart, and I saw a great crowd of people moving toward me. As I scanned the crowd, a cool breeze engulfed me. That's when I recognized them. Jimmy, Jerry, Mary, Ned, Chester, and Aubrey. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but there was no mistaking them. They looked ecstatic. I'd never seen anyone as happy as what they were. They didn't speak with words, but they seemed to know how much I had struggled with their deaths, and how that trauma had put up a barrier between God and me. In the most kind and loving way possible, they communicated that they weren't the obstacles to my faith. They were there to lift the burden I had been carrying around for so long. I scanned their faces and I could only see joy. Somehow they made it clear that what had happened to them happened for a reason. They wanted me to know that I wouldn't fully understand until I joined them, but in the meantime I shouldn't hold it against God. It took less than a millisecond for me to understand this is where they belonged. They had no regrets about their departure from a fallen world. This wasn't their new spiritual home. This was their true corporeal home. Seeing and hearing them released me from the dark thoughts of their deaths. The weight that had pinned me down for so long had been removed. They were so real, so present, and so very joyful. I had never seen such bliss radiate from a person's face. But the essence of who they were was still apparent. Jimmy and Jerry even seemed to tease each other the way brothers do, in the same way that the three of us had done at the farmer's market. I wanted to run to them, to join them, and to live in this paradise with them. I wanted this to be my home too. And then I saw him. He inhabited more of a presence in the midst of the crowd than a human form, and yet he definitely had human qualities. I couldn't identify his race. He seemed to be a composite of all races, or possibly of a race that I'd never seen before. Likewise, he appeared ageless, of every age and of none at the same time. He was unlike anyone I had ever seen before. Even his long hair defied description. It was at once silver, golden, and onyx-colored as it moved in the light. There was almost a glow from behind him, creating the effect of a halo. Who was this? He was not a man like any other man I had ever known. Everything and everyone around us stopped as he spoke. "Reggie, why are you running from me? Your friends are here with me in paradise. You can stop running." That's when I knew it was Jesus. He communicated with such authority. He spoke words with a capital W. Yet I couldn't see his mouth moving. I somehow intuited his words. As he spoke, I noticed that the light behind him glowed brighter. His eyes shone like the cool waters of the stream between us. His smile was so reassuring, like the one a loving mother gives to her baby. And inside me, I could feel the warmth of his love wrapping itself around my heart and my soul. All this happened in an instant. I could only glimpse him in my peripheral vision for the briefest moment. And then his brilliance was too much and I had to look away. "I'm the one who came for you," he said. "Your friends and family are here, and they have been made whole," he said. I looked again at the crowd and could see that he was right. No gunshot wounds showed on the Aldays. There weren't even any scars. In fact, the scars they had had while they were alive were no longer visible. Ned had been old and bent from arthritis, and yet now he stood tall, strong, and erect. He was healthy and vigorous. Though his appearance had changed drastically, I still recognized him. They'd all changed, made whole, made perfect. Childhood scars and teenage blemishes were now replaced with smooth, glowing skin. Jesus spoke again. "I have a plan for you, but you need to stop running." I was in awe of him, and I knew that whatever he said, whatever he asked, I would obey him completely. He seemed to read my mind. His final words to me were, "All that I have told you will come to pass. All you have to do is trust in me and in my words."